بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. في محاضرة اليوم سوف نتكلم عن شخصية سو برايدهيد والمرأة الجديدة. هذه المحاضرة مسجلة من الكتاب. Marriage in Jude the Absolute frequently becomes trivialized through the farcical events surrounding it. When listed in a stark fashion, all the marriages contracted in the novel involve deceit, social necessity, or compulsion to conform to religious dictates. Jude marries Arabella, believing her pregnant. Arabella leaves Jude and contracts a bigamous marriage when Jude's dreams of a remunerative career came to nothing. Sue marries the school teacher, Phillotson, whom she finds physically repulsive, partly out of spite at Jude concealing his marriage to Arabella. Phillotson, out of kindness, divorces Sue. Jude and Sue subsequently live together out of wedlock and thus incur the disgust of Victorian society. So marriages in Jude the Absolute and marriage is the main theme of the novel of Thomas Hardy. We find marriages which took a place in the novel depended on deceit, social necessity, or compulsion to conform to religious and traditional standards. For example, Arabella trapped Jude into marriage through deceit in order to improve her social situation. She deceived him by making him believe that she was pregnant while she wasn't. Arabella leaves Jude after feeling sure that he is not the exact type of guy who can afford her happiness, money, and social status. And she immigrated to Australia with her family, and there she got married to a rich man. Jude dreams of a remunerative career and studies in Christminster came to nothing. So, out of jealousy, got married to the school teacher Phillotson, whom she finds physically repulsive, and because she was in love with Jude, and she got married out of reaction, sharp and hard reaction, out of jealousy, and out of a spy at Jude, why he hid his marriage to Arabella from her. Phillotson, out of kindness, and after he discovered that their marriage wasn't ideal and there's no compassion, no love in this relationship, out of kindness, he divorces Sue. But they live together without contract and without marriage contract, and that incurred the anger and disgust of the conventional Victorian society. So we find Jude and Sue subsequently live together out of wedlock. إذا الزواج يحتل مسألة أساسية وفكرة أساسية هامة في رواية توماس هاردي جود أبسكيور. نرى أن الكثير من الزواجات في الرواية تعتمد على الخديعة وعلى الضرورة الاجتماعية أو على موقف يوجد فيه إجبار من أجل إرضاء المجتمع وإرضاء العادات والتقاليد. على سبيل المثال نرى أن أرابيلا اصطادت جود ولم تتزوج، اصطادت اصطياد من أجل تحسين وضعها الاجتماعي والخروج من الريف الإنجليزي والقرية التي تعيش بها من خلال الزواج. فالزواج كان يمثل لها رافعة للتغيير والقحط الاجتماعي من خلال الخديعة ومن خلال الادعاء أنها حامل، وتكتشف بعد الزواج أن جود هو الخيار الخاطئ لأحلامها، وأنها تريد رجلا آخر غنيا يستطيع أن تحقق أحلامها معه. وطبعا تركته وذهبت إلى أستراليا مع أهلها، هاجرت وهناك تعرفت على رجل غني وتزوجته، وهي على ذمة يعني قانونيا ودينيا على ذمة جود. بينما سو بدافع الغيرة الشديدة وبسبب إخفاء جود زواجه السابق من أرابيلا عنها، فقامت برد فعل قاسي جدا وتزوجت رجل لا تحبه وهو فيلاتسون، وعاشت حياة كريهة معه. وبعد فترة كان هناك الانفصال وعادت إلى جود، ولكن الآن طبعا نتكلم عن جود وسو بيعيشوا مع بعض out of love and not out of wedlock، يعني يربطهم علاقة الحب وليس الزواج التقليدي الموقع من قبل الكنيسة والمحكمة. وهذا أثار غضب المجتمع الفيكتوري المحافظ وغضب الناس، وهذا كان له رد فعل عنيف ضدهم وضد هذه ضد هذا ضد هذه العلاقة. Later, Sue returns to Phillotson in a perverse act of self-punishment brought about by guilt at the death of her children, a tragic event she regards as a form of divine retribution to her modern ways. Everywhere in the novel, marriage is seen as artificial and constructed, propped up by the church. And propped up by the church and leading to misery and deceit, while living together outside of marriage invariably leads to ostracism from respectable society. So we have Sue, who returns to Villason in a kind of self-punishment caused by the guilt after seeing the death of her children, a tragic event which transformed so completely, and she regards this as a form of divine and holy retribution and punishment from God because of her unconventional way of living and living with Jude without marriage, having children from Jude without marriage, and she thinks that the death of her children is a kind of punishment from God. So everywhere in the novel of Thomas Hardy, we find marriage is an artificial construct conditioned by society and the church, society which takes care much of the form rather than the content or the essence of marriage. Thomas Hardy wants to say that marriages can be nothing if it is not if they are not based on love, compassion, and chemistry of feelings, not only on contract. So we find that marriage is portrayed as an artificial construct supported by the church and leads to misery, deceit, and while living together outside of marriage leads also people to hate it and leads to ostracism from the respectable conventional Victorian society. So the conventional society will not accept real relationship based on love, but will accept artificial marriage based on contract. إذا سو عادت إلى فيلاتسون، وكان هذا محاولة انتحار نفسي بالنسبة لها، وكانت تعتبر أن ما حدث لأطفالها هو عبارة عن عقاب رباني، فأرادت أن تعاقب نفسها بالعودة إلى الرجل الذي لا تعشقه وتعيش معه بالرغم من أنها لا تستطيع مواصلة العيش معه. فكان هو عبارة عن انتحار نفسي وجسدي لامرأة بحجم عقل وإمكانيات سوء. في كل مكان في الرواية نرى أن الزواج يصور بشكل سطحي، وأن المجتمع يهتم بالأمور السطحية ويهتم بالأمور وبقشور الأمور ولا يهتم بالجوهر. ففي عين المجتمع الزواجات والتي مبنية على الخداع وعدم الحب وعدم الانسجام هي زواجات مثالية، وأن العلاقات التي لا يوجد فيها عقد زواج ولا يوجد فيها عقد مدني تحارب بأنها علاقات نقية وتعتمد على المشاعر الحقيقية. المجتمع الفيكتوري يريد أن يقول أن الصورة والعقد أهم من المشاعر وأهم من الأحاسيس وأهم من العلاقات الصادقة، من العلاقات الصادقة. وهذا ما رفضه توماس هاردي في روايته، وهذا ما انتقده بشكل كبير في الرواية من خلال عرض أنواع من الزواج المختلفة، وجعل القارئ أن يقارن بين العلاقة الصحية السليمة والعلاقة السلبية. Of all the characters in the novel, it is Sue who is the most outspoken in her attacks on marriage. She describes marriage as a hopelessly vulgar institution and observes the flowers in the bright hand are sadly like the garland which decked the hiver for a sacrifice of all time. He also voices the opinion, one which lies at the heart of the novel, that it is foreign to a man's nature to go on a loving person when he is told that he must and shall be a person's lover. In other words, the vows taken to love and to cherish during a marriage ceremony cannot possibly hold over a lifetime, given that one's attitudes, desires, and emotions towards one husband's wife are bound to change over time. So we have characters in the novel. Sue is the most outspoken character, is the feminist character, is the new woman, a woman who can express her opinion clearly and frankly, and she is critical of the religious and social economic institution at that time. She describes marriage as a hopelessly vulgar institution, an unreal institution, and think that a marriage is a trap for the emotions of a woman, a trap for the progress of woman, and stole the progress for a woman. So the flowers in the bride's hands are symbolically and sadly like the garland which decked the hiver for sacrifice in all time. So marriage means the sacrifice of a woman, of her future and of her potential and her abilities. So Thomas Hardy voices the opinion, which the opinion clearly that it is strange to a man's nature to go loving a person forever, and that he must be and shall be a person lover without taking notice that emotions, desires, and feelings and one's attitudes towards wife change over time, and there is nothing called forever, there is nothing called stable, there is nothing called that it will linger forever, because everything is bound to change over time. هنا من الشخصيات الرواية كانت سو هي أكثر شخصية متكلمة وصريحة، وهاجمت الزواج وهاجمت مؤسسة الزواج السطحية، ووصفت مؤسسة الزواج بأنها مؤسسة قذرة، وأن الورود التي تعلق على رقبة العروس في الزواج هي عبارة عن تضحية للمرأة بأحلامها وطموحاتها من أجل الزواج، واعتبرت أن الزواج عائق أمام طموحات المرأة وطبعا أحلامها وتحقيق أحلامها. وهنا نتكلم عن نظرة نسوية استشرافية لسو برايت هيد كتبها توماس هارتي في الرواية. أيضا توماس هارتي يعلق كيف يستطيع الرجل أن يحب امرأة رآها لأول مرة وسوف يتزوجها للأبد، وأن بدون أخذ بعين الاعتبار فإن المشاعر والأحاسيس تتغير عبر الزمن، ويجب أن يكون الزواج مبني على العلاقة ومبني على العلاقة العاطفية والأحاسيس والمشاعر الصادقة، لأن عقد الزواج لا يمكن أن يربط علاقة أبدية، لأن المشاعر تتغير والمواقف تتغير ووجهة الآراء تتغير، فيجب أن تكون القوانين مرنة من أجل أن يستطيع الإنسان أن يواصل حياته وأن يكون له الحق والحق لها في الاختيار. At the end, Jude obscure, like the character with his pages, was ahead of his time. A sympathetic portrayal of Jude, a young working class man struggling against entrenched attitude of Arabella attempting to secure a stable future for herself via a cynical approach to marriage, and the Bridehead whose free-spirited independence is ultimately broken by the unyielding nature of a conventional opinion. Of all these, look ahead to the work of D.H. Lawrence, particularly Single Lover and Women in Love. The clash between the spirit and the flesh, together with society attitude towards class, had been common themes in hard work before, but in due to obscure, they find their most impassionate analysis. Jude comments at the end of the novel regarding his unmarried relationship with Sue, which only brought condemnation. As for Sue and me, we were at our best long ago, and when our minds were clear and our love of the truth fearless, the time wasn't right for us. Our ideas were 50 years too soon to be any good to us, and so the resistance they met with brought reaction in here and recklessness and ruin in me. Jude and Sue fail in their ambitions and their pursuit of happiness, not through their own lack of desire and ambition, but through the unyielding attitudes of time. So here we have Jude the Obscure was a novel past its time, ahead of its time, sympathetic portrayal of Jude, a working class young man struggling against conventional attitude. We find Arabella who attempts to secure a stable future for herself through marriage. We find also Sue Bridehead, the independent, free-spirited woman who's ultimately broken by the unyielding and rigid conventions of the Victorian society. All these look ahead to the work of T.H. Lawrence and Sons of Lovers and Women in Love, who were affected terribly by the work of Thomas Hardy. We find there's a clash between spirit and flesh, and with society's attitude toward the class had been common themes in Hardy's work. Uh, Another comment about the novel regarding the unmarried relationship with Sue brought condemnation, and the idea was ahead of their own time. Sue and Jude paid the price for their advanced idea through the condemnation of society and through the sacrifice of their kids who were killed and hanged. As for Sue and me, we were at our best long ago when our minds were clear, our love of truth fearless. The time wasn't right for us. It wasn't the right time for us to experience our ideas and to say that we can live together out of love and not out of marriage. Our ideas were 50 years too soon to be any good to us. So the resistance they met with brought reaction and broke down Sue Bridehead and led to the death of Jude finally. So Jude and Sue failed to achieve their ambitions in their pursuit of happiness, not their own lack of desire and ambition, not through their own lack of love and compassion, but through the unyielding and rigid conventional attitudes of Victorian society who was not forgiving to Sue and Jude. إذا تكلمنا عن جود أبسكيور نرى بأن الرواية سابقة لعصرها بسنوات طويلة. صورت الرواية تصوير عاطفي وتصوير جيد لجود وأحلامه، وصورت أرابيلا التي كانت تبحث عن الاستقرار المالي والحياة من خلال الزواج. تعرفنا على سو برايتهيد الامرأة الطموحة المتعلمة وكيف هزمها وحطمها المجتمع بتقاليده وعاداته التقليدية وعرفنا كيف كانت نهاية سو. هناك صراع بين الروح وبين الأشياء المادية، وبالإضافة إلى موضوعات التعليم والطبقة والدين، وكانت تلعب دورا هاما في رواية جود أبسكيور. حتى في نهاية الرواية عندما علق جود بأن علاقتنا كانت سابقة لعصرنا بأقل شيء بنصف قرن، وأن الوقت غير مناسب لتجربة مثل تجربتنا، بالرغم من أنها صادقة ورقية، وأن المجتمع ولن يرحم مثل هذه أفكار. وكانت النهاية بأن سو عادت لكي تعيش مع زوج لا تعشقه، وكانت نهاية جود هو الموت وحيدا. إذا جود وسو فشلوا في تحقيق أحلامهم وفي تحقيق سعادتهم، ليس بسبب عدم رغبتهم وقلة طموحهم، ولكن بسبب المواقف والآراء التقليدية الجامدة للعصر الفكتوري، والتي كانت غير متسامحة مع أي تغيير اجتماعي أو أي انتقاد للمؤسسات الدينية أو الاجتماعية أو الطبقية، كانت رافضة لأي نوع من التغيير. إذا عجبتكم هذه المحاضرة تنسوش اللايك والاشتراك عشان يصلكم كل جديد. والسلام عليكم.